My friends, as our hands patiently fold each crease of paper, let your mind take flight with this story. Each fold is a step of preparation. Each press along the paper is a promise for an upcoming journey. When a plain white sheet is folded with care, it's no longer just paper. It becomes a winged bird, a dream, a tiny miracle that can travel farther than we imagine. And right now, as the soft rustle of paper surrounds us, I'll tell you a true story about a world record, about a man who turned a childhood passion into a flight that carved his name into history, so that as you fold, you can feel that your own hands are touching a dream. It was the summer of 1988, in a small riverside town in the state of Idaho, where a boy named John Collins lived. He was only 10 years old, skinny, with golden hair shining under the afternoon sun and bright blue eyes like two pieces of sky. His home stood near a small airport where just a few planes took off and landed each day. On golden afternoons, John would run to the fence, press his hands against the cold metal bars, and peer through to the other side. The hum of engines, the wheels lifting from the runway, the fuselage slowly rising and then darting into the sky. Each time, his heart trembled like a plucked string. But John didn't have the money for model airplanes or expensive toys. The only thing he could get were sheets of white paper from the local stationery store. At first, he folded the simple airplane designs everyone knew, but soon he began experimenting, changing fold angles, sharpening the nose, widening the wings. He wanted to find the perfect paper airplane. Every day, John folded dozens of them, carrying them to the backyard for test flights. On windy days, he would run across the field chasing one that had just curved down. Sometimes, one of his planes would glide all the way to the school's baseball field, earning cheers from his classmates. He'd smile, panting hard, but with a strange spark in his eyes, as if he had just glimpsed his own future. Time passed, and John grew up. He studied communications in college and later worked for a television station, but his love for paper airplanes never faded. In his small apartment, piles of test sheets stacked high. Every evening after work, John opened books on aerodynamics, studied the lift principles of bird wings, and observed dry leaves spinning in the wind. He realized that a paper airplane obeys the same strict laws of aerodynamics: center of gravity, wing area, fold angle, stiffness of material. Even the smallest change could decide whether it soared far or dropped right in front of him. John began creating dozens, then hundreds of different designs, numbering each one and recording detailed notes in a thick notebook. He tested long, narrow wings, short bodies with sharp noses, and even designs shaped like seagull wings. On winter nights, with snow covering the yard outside, he sat at the kitchen table, ruler and paper cutter in hand, adjusting each millimeter. Many friends laughed and told him he was playing a child's game. But John only smiled, because he knew he was chasing something that one day the world would recognize. The turning point came in 2010 when Jonathan attended a small paper airplane throwing workshop in California. There, he met Joe Ayub, a former college football quarterback, tall, powerful, with an arm that could deliver perfectly controlled throws. The first time John watched Joe throw, he knew instantly. This was the person who could take his designs to their furthest potential. At first, Joe thought it was just a fun pastime, but when John handed him a newly designed plane, sleek as an arrow, with wings folded for maximum stability, Joe was hooked. They shook hands and formed a partnership. John would design, Joe would throw. Training began in earnest. They rented an indoor arena where no wind could interfere. Each session, John arrived with a bag full of carefully numbered planes, each with specific notes. Joe stood at the mark, body tilted forward, took a deep breath, and launched. Sometimes the plane dove after just a few seconds. Sometimes it drifted left as if pulled by invisible wind. Every failure was a lesson. John made small adjustments, bending the nose slightly, widening the wings by just a millimeter. Some days they tried over 300 throws, Joe's arms sore and dripping with sweat, but neither man gave up. Each time a plane flew farther, John grinned like a kid. The big day came in February 2012 at McClellan Air Force Base in Sacramento. The hangar was huge, the concrete floor smooth, the air perfectly still. John handed Joe a pure white airplane, so light it seemed a breath could carry it away. He named it Suzanne, after his wife. Joe stepped forward, eyes locked in focus, his whole body tense like a drawn bowstring. With one swift, powerful motion, he threw. The plane shot forward, nose straight, gliding through the air as if supported by an invisible hand. It kept going, farther and farther still, beyond what the eye could easily track. When it finally touched the ground, the room went silent. Then, the laser measurement flashed. 226 feet, 10 inches. A world record. Cheers erupted as John and Joe embraced. For John, the record wasn't just about the number. It was the journey of 30 years, from crumpled childhood sheets to a day when his name entered the Guinness Book. He began traveling to schools, teaching children to fold airplanes, sharing his story. He believed that every child could find joy and creativity in making something that could fly. At one elementary school, John met Peter, a curious boy who told him that his grandfather had made paper planes, but they only flew a few yards. John smiled, pulled a Suzanne from his bag, and handed it to Peter. Together, they ran to the playground. When the plane soared all the way to the far trees, Peter shouted in delight and said he wanted to learn how to make it. John realized that the true record wasn't just the Guinness number. It was the spark in a child's eyes when their dream took flight. And today, as you carefully fold the paper in your hands, remember that maybe, from this very sheet, a new journey will begin. Someday, someone may break John's record. And that someone just might be one of us.